Joe Gibbs Racing says their former competition director took sensitive team secrets worth millions. A federal judge just made a major decision that could change this case and maybe even NASCAR itself. The NASCAR garage has seen rivalries, dramatic crashes, and championship battles, but sometimes the biggest drama does not happen on the racetrack. Sometimes it happens behind closed doors in offices, courtrooms, and legal filings. And right now, one of the most intense off-track battles in recent NASCAR history is unfolding between Joe Gibbs Racing and one of its former top leaders. At the center of the storm is Chris Gabehart, a man who once stood at the very heart of one of NASCAR's most successful organizations. For years, Gabehart was a key architect of performance at Joe Gibbs Racing. As competition director, he had access to everything that made the team successful: race strategy, engineering secrets, car setups, development plans, information that teams guard more carefully than almost anything else in the sport. Now that same man is facing accusations that he took some of those secrets with him when he left the organization. Joe Gibbs Racing has taken the fight to federal court. The team claims Gabehart carried out a deliberate plan to collect confidential information before leaving the organization. According to the lawsuit, those materials included sensitive data and internal documents that could provide a major competitive advantage to another team. The accusations are serious. NASCAR teams invest millions of dollars every year trying to gain even the smallest edge. A few pieces of internal data about aerodynamics, simulation programs, or race strategy can be worth an enormous amount. That is why teams protect their intellectual property with strict contracts and security measures. Joe Gibbs Racing believes Gabehart violated those protections. According to court filings, the organization alleges that Gabehart photographed confidential materials and stored sensitive information before departing the team. The claim suggests he intended to use that knowledge to help a direct competitor inside the NASCAR Cup Series. The team is not just asking for restrictions. Joe Gibbs Racing is seeking financial damages that reportedly exceed $8 million. For a legal dispute involving motorsports personnel, this is an enormous amount. But the story took a dramatic turn when a federal judge finally weighed in on the case. Judge Susan C. Rodriguez delivered a ruling that partially favored both sides while leaving the overall battle far from settled. The judge issued a limited restraining order against Gabehart. However, the order did not go as far as Joe Gibbs Racing had hoped. Instead of blocking Gabehart from working entirely, the court ruled that he can remain employed by Spire Motorsports. But there is a major condition attached to that decision. Gabehart is prohibited from performing duties that overlap with the role he previously held at Joe Gibbs Racing. In other words, he can stay in the NASCAR industry, he can continue working with Spire Motorsports, but he cannot perform the same type of competition leadership responsibilities that he once handled at JGR while the legal battle continues. The decision created a complicated middle ground. For Gabehart, it means he keeps his job. For Joe Gibbs Racing, it means the court acknowledged that there could be legitimate concerns about protecting sensitive information. But the judge also signaled skepticism about some of the broader claims made in the case. During the hearing, the court indicated that some of the arguments about how the information might be used were speculative at this stage. In legal terms, that matters a lot. Judges often require clear evidence that harm is likely before imposing severe restrictions on someone's employment. Instead, the court opted for a narrower order designed to prevent potential overlap in responsibilities while allowing Gabehart to continue working. The ruling also came with another surprising detail. Judge Rodriguez required Joe Gibbs Racing to post a $100,000 bond. This bond acts as a safeguard in the event that the restraining order is later found to have been unnecessary or unjustified. It is a common step in legal cases involving temporary restrictions. For now, the bond ensures that the order remains in place while the court continues examining the case. To understand why this lawsuit has become such a major topic inside the NASCAR garage, it helps to understand who Chris Gabehart is. Gabehart was not just another employee at Joe Gibbs Racing. He was one of the most important technical leaders inside the organization. Before becoming competition director, he built a reputation as one of the sharpest engineering minds in the sport. He played a crucial role in race preparation, car performance, and strategic planning. In NASCAR, the competition director position carries enormous responsibility. That person oversees how teams approach race weekends, manages engineering resources, and helps guide the technical direction of the entire organization. Access to that level of information means understanding exactly how a team finds speed. Every simulation model, every aerodynamic adjustment, every engineering tool used to improve lap times. Teams guard those details fiercely because the competitive margins in NASCAR are extremely small. 1/10 of a second can separate a race winner from the rest of the field. That is why the allegations in this lawsuit are taken so seriously. Joe Gibbs Racing believes Gabehart collected sensitive materials before leaving the team. The organization argues that allowing him to perform similar duties at another team could put years of development at risk. From the perspective of a racing organization, the concern is obvious. If a rival team suddenly gained access to internal engineering strategies or development data, it could dramatically accelerate their own progress. But Gabehart strongly disputes the idea that he attempted to transfer valuable secrets to another team. His legal team acknowledged that he took photographs of certain documents. However, they argue that a forensic review has shown the materials were never used or shared with Spire Motorsports. In other words, Gabehart maintains that there was no effort to pass along confidential data to a competitor. That difference in interpretation sits at the heart of the entire lawsuit. Joe Gibbs Racing believes a serious violation occurred. Gabehart insists that no competitive harm actually happened. While the court battle continues, Gabehart has already started working with Spire Motorsports. Spire is a growing organization in NASCAR that has been expanding its operations and ambitions within the Cup Series. The team recently brought Gabehart aboard as Chief Motorsports Officer. The position involves oversight of various racing operations connected to the company. However, the court ruling now places limits on what he can actually do in that role. Because of the restraining order, Gabehart cannot perform duties that resemble the responsibilities he had while serving as competition director at Joe Gibbs Racing. That restriction will likely require careful adjustments within the organization. Spire Motorsports must ensure that Gabehart's work stays within the boundaries established by the court. Any overlap with his previous responsibilities could create additional legal problems. For now, the team appears prepared to comply with the order while the case unfolds. But the legal battle is far from finished. In fact, the most important stage of the case may still be ahead. A major hearing has been scheduled for March 16th. During that hearing, the court will examine more evidence and consider whether additional restrictions should be imposed. That decision could dramatically change the direction of the case. If the judge determines that Joe Gibbs Racing has stronger evidence than initially presented, the court could expand the restrictions on Gabehart's activities. On the other hand, if the evidence does not support those claims, the court could decide that the current limits are sufficient or even reduce them.